Welcome to class. And today we will be discussing on a topic consequences of obedience. Consequences of obedience. Stay tuned, listen, and enjoy. Okay, now today we want to discuss on a very crucial topic, the consequences of obedience. I called it crucial in the sense that the concept or the word obedience is a social concept. This is a concept that I believe that a 90 to 100% of us is aware of what it means and a little of what is involved in obedience. And this is something that, on the average, a good citizen and a good child should imbibe should imbibe so that we can have a balanced and a happy society. So in our topic today, we want to consider the consequences of obedience. What are the benefits that comes to those who obey? And our case study in this video is Joseph, and the second person is David. But this video is going to be segmented into two. So in this video, I shall consider only Joseph. Okay, then some other videos we look at David. Okay, now the story of Joseph is a very long one. Some other videos. Okay, but for this video particularly, we shall concentrate on Joseph. So let's go. Now, like the topic say, obedience, consequences of obedience. Now, from our note, a brief note I made here, Joseph was rewarded for obeying God's command. And what is the command? Okay, now in Exodus chapter 20, verse 14, God commanded us, saying, look at the commandment here, thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not commit adultery. That is the commandment. And this lesson is trying to communicate to us that there is a blessing when one obeys God's command. There is a blessing attached to obeying God's command. So that when you obey God's command, you should be rest assured that there are benefits attached to it. And Joseph is one person we are going to use as a case study. His lifestyle and how God really manifested in his lifestyle. Okay, Joseph was sold to Potiphar in Egypt. Like I told you, I'm not going to go back to story concerning the way or what transpired and he was sold to Egypt and all of that. But for the purpose of our lesson, I shall follow it from according to our topic. So looking at our topic, the reward for obeying God's law. So what we are looking at here is the instruction, which is thou shalt not commit adultery, and how he obey the law and the benefit. These are our focus, the three focus: the law, how he obeyed the law and the benefits. That's it. So in subsequent video we can take time to discuss his full biography, if I may say so. Okay, so Joseph was sold to the house of Potiphar, and then he was a slave anyway in Egypt. So in Egypt, he served in the house of king, and the master loved him so much that he put him in charge of all that he had, except for one thing, and that one thing is his wife. All that the master has was under Joseph's command, except for one, his wife. So one of those days, while Joseph was doing his work in the house, or in the house of his master, the wife came around and, you know, asked Joseph to sleep with him. Joseph, being a God fearing man, refused. And from the Bible, we are made to understand that the wife of Potiphar made this attempt severally, and Joseph will not want to accept or did not accept. Okay, so one day Joseph was doing his work. The woman came in and asked Joseph and held him by the cloth, and then asked Joseph to lay with her. And Joseph left his clothes with her and ran away. You now see why Bible says we should flee from sin. Okay, and then Joseph left the clothes with her and ran away. So the woman, that's Potiphar's wife, changed the whole story. She now said, she now began to shout, called other housemaids or other people, and then when they came, she now told them that, see, Joseph have been making advances to me, and he came here to have access to me or to lay with me. And when I screamed, he ran away, leaving his clothes with me. So she lied against Joseph. So, and it was a serious offense for someone to attempt to sleep with the wife of his master. And the master was not around when all of these were happening. So when the master came back, the wife narrated the same story to the master, and the master was furious. He was angry. So he picked Joseph and threw him into his prison. And in prison, Joseph found favor in the sight of the prison guard, because God was with him. God made him find favor in their sight, and they put some certain things, or the prisoners under Joseph's watch. So one of those days, some other person working with the king also committed offense. And who are these persons? The king's cupbearer and the king chief baker. Two of them committed an offense and was sent into the same prison where Joseph was. Okay. So while they were in the prison, one night they had a dream. The both, that's the cupbearer and the chief baker, they had a dream. And in that dream, the cupbearer said, I saw myself before a vine, and this vine tree, like let's say, like magically, it sprang up, you know, bears, brought forth fruits or grape, and I saw myself holding the king's cup and then pressing those grape into the cup and then giving it to Pharaoh or the king. And that was his dream that he dreamt at night. And at the same night, the, the chief baker dreamt where he carried three baskets full of baked food for the king. Now, the topmost basket, he saw a bird feeding from the food baked for the king. And in the morning, they were so confused what would be the meaning of this dream, who would interpret our dreams, and all of that. And their face were not looking like before. So Joseph came around and asked, "Why is your face not looking as it used to be?" So they said, "We had a dream and no one to interpret for us." And Joseph said, "It is of the Lord to interpret dreams. So tell me your dream." And they indeed told him their dreams. And then he began to explain the dream first to the cupbearer. He now told the cupbearer, in the next 3 days, and this next 3 days, King is Pharaoh's birthday coming. Next 3 days, Pharaoh is going to restore you to your position or to your former position. That was the meaning of your dream. After the cupbearer narrated the dream to him, he now gave him the interpretation that in the next 3 days you will be restored to your former position. And then Joseph said, when you go back, please remember me. Mention my name before Pharaoh. So when the chief baker heard of this and that it was a favorable interpretation, he also narrated his own. And Joseph told him, in the same 3 days, in the next 3 days, Pharaoh shall take you up from here and hang you up on a tree, and birds, those birds you saw feeding on Pharaoh's baked food, they mean that those that birds are going to feed on your own body, hung on a tree. So that was his interpretation. After 2 years, and these dreams came to pass. In the next 3 days, the chief baker was killed, the cupbearer restored. But the cupbearer went back and forgot Joseph and all that had happened in the prison at the prison. So after 2 years, Joseph, the king, sorry, after 2 years, the king had a dream. And what was his dream? He said he saw he had a dream. He saw fat cows coming out from River Nile in Egypt, fat stubborn cows. And he also saw a thin or a tiny or hungry looking cows also coming out from the Nile. And then as he was watching, he saw those hungry looking um cows swallow the fat ones, yet they looked as if they never ate anything. That's the most confusing section. They looked as if they never ate anything. So Pharaoh woke up, and after a while he slept back again. He had another dream. He saw um a fat sorry a very beautiful and healthy looking grain being swallowed up by a hungry looking grain. So in the morning he was troubled and all of that, and seeking for whom to interpret his dream. And that was where the cupbearer remembered what had transpired between him and Joseph at the prison, and then he mentioned him to the king, and Joseph was how Joseph was invited, and he interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh, and as a result of that, Pharaoh now. And what was the interpretation? The interpretation of the Pharaoh's dream, that there are going to be 7 years of abundance in Egypt and 7 years of famine. But the famine will be so severe that it will look as if there were never 7 years of abundance. Okay, and it happened. So Pharaoh now put Joseph in charge of the to take care of the resource of the entire Egypt, to make sure that during the period of famine that people will still see things to buy and eat. So coming back to our topic, Joseph was rewarded for obeying God's law. So the theme or the direction of this topic is centered on thou shalt not commit adultery. Because Joseph failed to commit adultery, get it now. Joseph failed to commit adultery. His reward becomes what? He was elevated to the position of what I call it a national secretary. The whole resource of the Egyptian. Remember, he was a Hebrew. He was a slave in Egypt, but he was taken to a position that he now took charge. The food and whatever was placed in his child, that was placed under him. He was now in control in another man's land. So that was the reward. So each time we obey the commandment of God, there is always a great reward waiting for us. That's just the summary of the whole thing. Each time you obey God's instruction, each time you obey God's command, there are a lot of benefit to enjoy. Though it will not come easy. Remember, Joseph passed through hard time. He have to go to prison, and in prison after 2 years before he was now elevated. So don't think maybe if you obey it today that tomorrow you must see your reward. No, it doesn't work that way. Sometimes it could take time, but the main thing there is that surely you will reap that good fruit that you have sown. You will be rewarded by God. So this is where we'll stop for today. See you in our next video. The next one we shall talk about David. Okay. See you and God bless you.